Hello everyone. So we were dealing with advanced concept in .NET. We already had covered up WPF, Window Presentation Foundation, and whatever the leftover is WCF, which is Window Communication Foundation. Well, we will start with this topic, and it also introduces in .NET Framework 3.0, just like WPF. Um, the uh, the technology WCF, it is a service-oriented technology to develop any application. Well, it is not a base application. It is not it doesn't give you any platform to create application, just like web form, window form, or WPF. It is a service oriented. That means it gives you some service and you can use that service in your base application, just like an external API do. Okay, you create a web service or you create that DLL or API, you share it with the world, you put it on the distributed system, so a user who is creating an application can get that API, can put it on the on his application and can work around, just like language interoperability, where you can translate your language from one language to another language, or it can be a source code for maybe map, or it can be a source code or an API for like what can I say, it converts your Word to PDF, like that. You just create that API or DLL, you put it on the distributed system anywhere around the world, and a user who is creating an application can get that API, can put it on the source code of that application and can run around. So this is the thing that WCF gives you. It gives you a kind of service oriented technology where you can communicate with that web service, or you can say the service, and your application. So this service oriented design gives you a distributed system where you can run, where it can run between different services and your client. Okay. Apart from that, and why I basically need this WCF is, let's say I have a 3-tier architecture in my .NET, and you are creating your application based on 3-tier architecture. And 3-tier architecture possesses presentation tier, business tier, and data tier, where presentation tier deals with your all presentation, just like HTML code, your design code. Business tier deals with all the business logic that you are dealing with, like your logic, like .cs file. And data tier basically deals with your database application, where you create your tables, store procedures, like that. Okay, so this is a 3-tier architecture. And why I'm separating it out, why I'm writing it in the same code .cs, why I'm separating out like presentation, like business, like data, why I'm doing it. Well, the reason is pretty much simple. If you are creating an application and if you are putting everything in the same file .cs file, and if you are writing in the same same file, then it is going to reduce the scalability of your application. So if your application is going to be handled by it is going to be operated by like 1,000 users on at a time, your application is going to be degraded if you do not work with like 3-tier architecture. If everything is on the single page, like the code for HTML, the code for logic, and the code for database, it is on the same page, then if the 1,000 users run your application at a time, your application is going to be degraded. It is not going to work properly. Just like your GTU website, whenever the result comes up, it gets degraded. You cannot open it. It cannot be loaded, right? So there is a heavy load on that particular application. That's why I need to separate this out. So I'm separating my business logic, I'm separating the presentation code, I'm separating my database code in different systems, and I'm putting it all over the world wherever I want. That is the reason we have a distributed system. We are putting it on the computers, in different computers, and then I'm getting those source code by calling that specific things, like I'm calling presentation code, I'm calling business logic code, and then I'm calling database code. Okay, and then if 1,000 users comes in my application, it is not going to be loaded because the code is separated out all over the world. Okay, so my application is now not going to be degraded, it is going to be work properly, and that is the reason we have WCF. This is the base motivation or the intuition behind creating this WCF in .NET Framework 3.0. And I can say that it is a communication foundation. That means your services is going to communicate with your client application by means of some technology, and that technology is basically it can be the SOAP, and SOAP is simple object access protocol. By means of that, you can communicate with your service with your client application. Okay, so they have so many protocols by means you can call your services to your application. So I'll show you the architecture of WCF, and it looks like this. So this is your application, and it deals with contract, service time, messaging, and activation and hosting services. Okay, I hope you understand the meaning of application. I don't need to give you an explanation on activation. And then we have this messaging. So you can see we have HTTP, we have TCP, binary encoders. By means you can communicate with your services by with the help of this. Okay, this HTTP, TCP, they are all the protocols by means you can communicate with your client application. So I'm going to explain this WCF architecture so that you can be possibly right in the exam. Okay, so let's get started with this, and we will see the first is a contract. So what do you mean by a contract? So let me just comment over here, and I'm going to explain the WCF architecture now. WCF architecture, and the first thing that we're going to understand is data contract. I'm sorry, I'll just write the contract layer. And contract layer basically provides you the information. I'll just write it over here. Provides information about the different features of the message, okay, that you are sending from one service to the other service, or maybe from one service to the client application. It provides you the different features, and whenever you are dealing with sending and receiving the messages, so it basically deals with let me just write it over here, that it deals with data contract first. So data contract it gives you the message parameters. Okay, what kind of parameters you are sending with the message. Data contract handles that message parameters, and the parameters are basically based on XML. Okay, extended markup language. So this is XML based parameters. The other thing that we have, data apart from data contract, we have message contract. So the message contract deals with specific part of message. Specific part of message. It means nothing but whatever the message that you are sending from one service to other, or from one service to the client application. Specific part of message using SOAP. Okay, so dealing with that. Then apart from that, we have service contract. And service contract deals with what kind of service you are using in the message. So provide specific information to the content, which enables the client to understand what service is he offering. Okay, so this is it, and there is a typo. Okay, so service contract will give you what kind of services that specific web service is going to give you or offering you. Okay, so apart from service contract, we have policy binding, policy and binding, and policy binding controls different protocols. Okay, so when you are communicating between different services and client, we need protocols to communicate, right? And all those protocol is being controlled with the help of this policy and binding. Okay, so it could be like HTTP, it could be like SOAP, or it could be, or maybe TCP. All these protocols are used for communication. One more thing is pretty much important here, that the whenever you are dealing this SOAP is basically when you are communicating with WCF to WCF, which means when you are dealing with WCF application to WCF application, you are communicating to WCF application, then you use SOAP. Otherwise, what you can use other protocols just like HTTP when you are dealing with WCF and other application. Okay, I hope you are getting it. you can use another protocol. If you are using WCF to WCF communication, then you use SOAP, and if you are not using the other WCF, and you are using other application, then you use HTTP or TCP, whatsoever you like, you can use it. Okay. Apart from that, we deal with contract layer. Then we have something called as service runtime layer. And service runtime layer, basically it manages different behavior. Okay, behavior of WCF service. That occurring while hosting the service. Okay, so it manages the behavior of WCF when you are hosting that service. So if I come back to this WCF architecture, and we are dealing with service runtime, you can see it basically deals with behaviors. Can you see this? Metadata behavior, instance behavior, concurrency behavior. It deals with behavior only. Okay, so what behavior that WCF services is providing you, this is the chamber that it provides you. Okay, so now apart from service runtime layer, it is also having some parameters, and we'll discuss that parameters. First parameter is throttling behavior. So throttling behavior controls the number of messages passing from service to client. Okay, so it controls the number of messages. If the number of messages is going to be very high, then definitely I need to control it over. So I need some parameter for that. So we have throttling behavior for that. I cannot use infinite number of messages to communicate with my service. That is not possible, and that's why we have throttling behavior, right? And then we have error behavior, which is easy to understand. Just error behavior. So it deals with the messages that displays any error. Okay, it deals with that, any error during runtime maybe. Okay, basically it is service runtime. So whatever the behavior we are checking it out, it is on the runtime. So whenever any service runs, and at that particular instance of time, we are seeing the behavior. So error error behavior deals with the message that displays an error during runtime. Okay, and the next thing is we're gonna see the metadata behavior. And metadata deals with processing. Oh, I'm so sorry for this spellings. Deals with processing of metadata to ensure that it is available to the client. Okay, and I hope you understand the meaning of metadata, that is data about data. So it deals with the metadata that is there in the service, it is available to the external client or not. Okay, that behavior is being checked out by the metadata behavior. And then we have instance behavior. And instance behavior deals with number of time the service is being raised or instanced by the client. Check it out at what number of time the service is being instanced or being raised by the client. Okay, that kind of behavior is being checked out by the instance behavior. Then we have message inspection. And from the name itself you can understand that it inspect the message passing from service to client. And for error analysis. Okay, any kind of error has been there, then it is used for analysis, for inspection, that if there is any problem, then what the problem is. Okay, so this message inspection is going to give you that. Then we have transaction behavior. And transaction, I hope you know the meaning of transaction, that if you're I mean, whatever the function, whatever the thing that you want to do, is it successfully done or not, that can be checked out with the help of transaction behavior. Okay, we have a concept called rollback and commit. Commit is for a successful transaction, and rollback, if there is any failure attempt, then you have to roll back it and then start it start it again. So transaction will give you change the state of a message. It provides you state of message. So if the transaction is a success or failure. Okay, so it gives you a state of message. Then we have a dispatch behavior, and dispatch behavior basically it provides you how a message is studied and processed by WCF infrastructure. Well, it is infrastructure. Okay, so well, dispatch, it means how your message is going to be studied and processed by the framework itself, the WCF platform itself. Okay, this is the last part, I think, dispatch behavior. And what else we have? Concurrency behavior. Well, concurrency behavior deals with the, I hope you understand the concurrent programming, and like one at a time you are reading, another time you are writing also. Okay, so you're doing the read and write both at the same exact time, and that is the concurrency. So the concurrent behavior, it provides you controls the parallel. As you are dealing with distributed system, that means there must be a concurrency topic as we are dealing with distributed system, because distributed system deals with concurrency. One person is also using the presentation tier, the other person can also use the same presentation tier at the same time. So we need this concurrent behavior, how it works with the messages. So it deals with, or it controls the parallel functions that running at the time of client access the WCF service. Okay, that is your concurrent concurrency behavior or concurrent behavior. So you had seen service runtime layer, and the last part, or not the last part, but the third part is the messaging layer. And messaging layer provides the information about different you can say different channels. It provides the information I'm so sorry for this, information about different channels. By means of channels, it is nothing but the way you are communicating with these services. It can be HTTP, TCP, SOAP, or like that. Okay, so these are the channels which are required to process the message, or just me write message. Okay, so basically the format, or the here what kind of channel we have. Let's see, we have TCP. I hope you know the transmission control protocol. We have TCP, we have HTTP, we have binary encoder, we have XML encoders. These encoders are basically used to read, write, and convert messages into XML format. So the transport channel, just give you the idea that these channel these channel help in managing, processing the message that need to be communicated. It basically uses two kind of channels. One is the transport and the another one is protocol. So the so it uses two things to pass from service for communication. Just let me write just for communication. One is it uses something called as transport and another one is protocol. And when I say transport, this is not transparent, this is transport. Okay, these are the two things that it uses messages layer. One is transport. Transport gives you is used to read, write and convert the message into an XML format. Okay, this is the work that is used by transport. So it uses read, write and convert the message into XML format. So if I'm using HTTP, then it converts into first of all it reads, write and then it converts into the XML format. And then we have protocol. Oh, I'm so sorry. Transport is basically the encoders. I'm so sorry for that. Protocol is nothing but the TCP, that is, taking the message from one part to the another part. So it processes TCP, HTTP, all those are protocols. Okay. However, the transports are the encoders like this. Here, these are the encoders: XML, text, binary. So what it exactly do? It takes the one format like HTTP. If the message is coming from HTTP protocol, then the transport is going to read it. It's going to write it if it wants to. Then it converts into the specific format by which the application is going to understand. Okay. So if there is an XML encoder, then it is a transport. It will read it, it will write it, and it converts from one extension to the XML format so that the application is going to understand. Okay, that is the work of the messaging layer. And the next part is the hosting. And I think hosting is it's basically used to host the application with your service, with any service. Generally it could be done with the help of IIS server, specifically used in .NET. It also uses something called as WS, or most precisely it is used by IIS. So hosting is basically can be done with the help of IIS server when your application is being embedded with any web service or the service. Then the last part we need to host it so that a user can grab it and can work it around, right? So the last thing in the host, when you host it, it could be executable file .exe, it could be a DLL file, or it could be a Windows service. Okay, so this is the WCF, Window Communication Foundation, and I mean you can program it. If you know how to program web service, then it is going to be very easy for you. Okay, I hope you understand it, and thank you so much for listening to me. If you have any doubt, you can comment in the comment section. I'll be happy to help you. The program for WCF, I mean, you can create what you can create. You can create a chat application and call some external service. Use a namespace such as using remoting. Remoting can be used in WCF. So you check it out for remoting service. You create chat application. We can use WCF there. Okay, there are so many programs available over the internet. You can check it out. Okay, generally if you know how to deal with web services, then you can easily go around and can program WCF applications or WCF services. Okay, so I hope you understand it, and thank you so much for listening to me.